Krishna Pristaya Bhutala Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swam Tinam Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pushkati Desatarana. So the subject matter we intend to talk about today is something very sensitive and very essential. It's called the heart. The heart is something people paint like this. Or nowadays, in modern terms, they always make like this, something like that. Obviously, it's recognized as something very important and very essential. When people speak about the deep emotional issues, they always touch like the heart region, you know. But, of course, the scientists will say, it's just a bloody pump, you know. If you ever saw a picture of a functioning open heart, it's impressive. It's absolutely impressive. It's a muscle. Nothing else is a muscle. We have all kinds of muscles, but none of the muscles we have in the body functions like the heart. Just physically spoken. Nobody, no scientist can explain how is it possible that a muscle can go like for 90, 100 years, like this. Now, any muscle we try in a body to do like this, how long do we last, you know? Even some very, very strong people, after a while, they just give up. This muscle never gives up. And if it gives up, then we are dead. We are leaving the body. So this, physically, simply physically spoken, nobody can explain what is it. What kind of energy is powering this muscle? Now, this is just the physical part. That's what we can see. Then comes the emotional and the mental part. Yes, people feel pain in the heart when something horrible happened. Or when they love somebody, they said, oh, you are in my heart. You know? It's not for surely, not the bloody pump. You know, that would be not so interesting. No, it's the region of the heart, which is that energy, which we find the information in the Bhagavad Gita. It is actually, there's a spiritual reason why this muscle functions like that. And there's a spiritual reason why the heart is playing such an essential role in our lives. Why? Because actually it's a center of consciousness. People think, usually, most of the people, when I speak about the heart, they are sentimental. That means senti means the senses and mental means the mind. That's true. We perceive things through senses and we think about it. But that's obviously not everything. Because the consciousness emanating from the heart is not based on thinking, just on thinking. Not just of seeing or sensual what we feel. It's based on desire. And that's also located in the heart region. What do we want? What is causing us to want something? We know what desire can do. It can be outrageous. When people desire something, I don't want to go in detail, you know, and make somebody feel unpleasant. But this is a man statement, okay? One man stated, there is no more ferocious predator on this planet. Predator, you know, hunter. There's a woman in a search after a man. That was his subjective experience. You can turn it around the same way. So how powerful desire that can be. You just think, okay, now I will get this. I will get this. And what a man or a woman can do to get something, it's incredible. They will cheat, they will lie, they will make all kinds of deceptions, up to the point of physical violence, because the desire is so strong. So this is power. This is a powerful thing. And actually the origin of that power is in the heart, and it's a spiritual origin. It's a desire is a very powerful thing, because it's actually the origin is a spiritual one. So these kind of things we encounter in Krishna consciousness, of course, because it's called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness means what we think, what we feel, and what we desire. So therefore, like those who cultivate spiritual life, they are very careful with their desire. What do I really want? There's a beautiful story illustrating that. Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned it many times, of a son in India, son of a very rich Brahmana. Not all Brahmanas are poor. Brahmanas are very often poor, but not all. So it was quite a rich family, and because it was a rich family, the son was used to quite a high standard of enjoyment, which is not common for Brahmanas, but he got tempted, and he was young, and he was quite beautiful. So it was quite easy for him to get to women, and he used it well. He was used to that. He was a woman teaser, flirting. That was his domain, And because it was not socially acceptable. So you just go around and abuse women like this in a Vedic culture. So they were prostitutes. And this was legitimate, yeah. If a man cannot really control his sex life, please, there's official ladies for that, go there. These prostitutes were actually very respected in a society. They did a service to the society by taking care of this man who normally or maybe would get out of control and create trouble. So it was regulated, So such a prostitute, her name was Chintamani, she was very famous. This was not the type of prostitutes we meet today. This was actually because those were respected ladies, and they had a very high-class customers, like our gentleman. He had money, he came from a high-class family. So that was a customer that Chintamani had. She was so popular and she was so expert in all kinds of regards, which we are not going to describe here. So she was so expert. She was living in a very fancy house. She had a very fancy villa, with a big park to it, and it was surrounded by big walls. Lived like a princess, almost. So that was our gentleman's favorite lady. So he was so lusty, and he was actually, because it's described in our scriptures, lust makes one very cruel, There's no merciful, lusty people. No. It makes you very selfish, very cruel. You just want that, you just want to get it. That's it. And I mean, we speak both, male and female. That Prabhupada always used that example. If you want to get it, go for it. No mercy. So his name was Bilva Mangala later on. Bilva Mangala, our gentleman, became so cold-hearted by this sex life and by all this, that when his father died, at the funeral ceremony, he urged the priest, the body was burned at the bank of the Ganges, he urged the priest, please, can you put more wood? Can you burn the body faster? Because I have an appointment tonight. with Chintamani. So please go, go. That's how cold-hearted he became. So the body was burnt. He was getting ready for his trip to Chintamani. It was getting dark. It was late. And somehow or other, because he was actually used to spiritual practices, he came from, from a high-ranking Vaishnava family. But being degraded, Krishna sometimes devised special circumstances to help such a person to actually become spiritual awakened, come back to the original spiritual path. This is a warning for everybody who starts to practice Krishna consciousness. Be careful, because if you want to be sinful again, it's going to be more and more difficult. Krishna will make it difficult. You can even try. I can tell you now numberless stories from practical life, from devotees I saw, who were trying, still go back, and trying to be somewhat sinful. Oh, Krishna can do such a thing. It's almost humorous. You can laugh. Like I knew one of my god brothers who, that was in the very early stages. I'm speaking about the 70s. He wanted to go back to Maya, to illusion, and enjoy. But he couldn't do anything else because he was a quite asocial person. Such a person's come to Krishna consciousness, quite asocial. So the only thing he could relating to people was to preach, actually, philosophy. So what did he do? He left in a search of sex and a lady. But the only thing he could do is to preach. So how do you get a social contact? You preach. And ladies come. They are spiritually motivated, but the motivation on his side was quite different. So, and I mean, this is practically, it happened several times, not once, that Krishna sent him a lady, Buddhistic-minded, vegetarian, meditation, very good. So she was interested. What are you talking about? And he was like, but he actually sort of only about sex life. She wasn't so interested. She was interested in what he was talking. And then she found out he is a Hare Krishna. So she said, where do you got this from? So that was Bhagavad Gita. So she said, I want to go and see Hare Krishna. So there he was again in a Sunday feast, coming back with the lady. And we were all, those days, we were all monks, everybody was more or less in celibacy. So we had a good time with him. We were going, oh, hello, hey, how are you? And he was like, this is my new girlfriend. And then the worst thing was that we also had a very heavy crew of girls called Brahmacharini. That's the female version. Prabhupada invented that word. It doesn't exist in the scriptures, but he had to call this girl somehow. In the West, in India, it doesn't exist. Because in India, a girl is under the protection of the parents and then she gets married and that's it. But in the West, there was armies of these hippie ladies just roaming on the street, not even knowing where to go. So just imagine what Prabhupada saw. He said, no, there will be no women living in the temple. That's never like this in Vedic India. A woman cannot stay even overnight. A woman can visit the temple, but then in the evening she has to go home. So Prabhupada said, no, there will be no ladies in the temple. They have to go home. Then he realized they have no home. And so how do you do with that? He also realized another thing, that all these new first disciples of his were very used to be with ladies on a very close range. So for those who were joining already like couples, but not married, he insisted, no. You want to get initiated by me, really, officially, you must get married. Actually, later on, he established in ISKCON, first marriage, then initiation. Yeah. He was insisting that you put yourself properly within a human society. Such a person I can initiate, yes. But there was girls they had no boyfriend, nothing. So what do you do with that? Boys, I joined. I had only one girlfriend. She said, it's going to be the monks or me. I said, well, the monks are probably more long-term project. That was already very obvious. So it was not so difficult to depart. I would apologize to her, and even today, if we would meet, if she's still alive, sorry, but I was the first man actually in her life. So what can we do? But she put this condition, okay. If she would say, I want to join with you, that would be another story. And we saw I had friends who joined like this at that time. But that was not my story. So I joined in a temple, and that was it. I never saw that girl again. And then I just joined the monks. Well, for 17 years, it was actually a very simple life. And very blissful too. Because any responsible family man can confirm that married life is not simple. No. There is always something. And then it multiplies by the children, by relatives, all this. Like devotees, they get married. We get married. We have official, standard for that. But what they don't know usually, that when you get married, there is a kind of people manifesting suddenly out of nowhere. And they are called the relatives. You didn't expect that. And they are not devotees, usually, If everybody is devotee, it's not a big problem, really. But in the West, usually, it's not like this. So one problem leads to the other. It gets complicated. So I really enjoyed my, monk celibacy days, I have to say. I was the whole day on the street distributing these books, preaching, was blessed. And I was not alone. We were a whole big party. So we also had a group of brahmacharinis like that, So, and they were doing the same thing we were doing, following the same principles, same lifestyle. But I have to say, it was the 70s, and we came from a very unchaste background, but within the temple and in our services, it was very well regulated. There was no loose talks and blah, 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 blah. No, nothing of this. And they were actually respected as girls because they did immense service. They did the same preaching we did. They did the same thing. I don't want to go now more in detail because I was becoming more involved as normally. I don't know why. They selected me, it was official. I didn't ask for that I will manage these girls. I said, come on, I'm a celibacy monk. What do I have to do with this? Actually, we were all young, a little bit fanatical. Yeah. So I had a special name for them, the species. There are 8,400,000 species. Like crocodiles or whatever, species. Because it's a really different mentality. And every grihastha and every householder know that. If somebody says, I really understand my wife, he's lying. Is lying. Men cannot really understand what sometimes inspires ladies or what they feel or whatever. I don't know why Krishna made it that, or ask me about that, but it's very different, And so, Bilmanga, back to the story, he was not coming from a celibacy background. And his sexual life is very addictive. It's really addiction. It's not very personal. Nah. It's just addiction. It's an impulse. It's called vegam in Sanskrit. It's a push, like push to eat, push to go to the toilet. So push to have sex life. You know, people get upset when one compares these things, but it's not much difference, you know. Yeah. And when a bush is satisfied somewhat, okay, I don't need this. Yeah. The problem is comes back again. You know, what to do with that? Therefore, Prabhupada insisted you regulate the situation. So Bhimanga Thakur, he was such a strong desire to see Chintamani tonight that as soon the funeral was over, he was on the way to his lady. The problem was, it was getting dark, and somehow or other, Krishna arranged, big storm came. Big, heavy rain. Now, whoever wasn't in India doesn't know what storm really means. I remember in Bengal, when I came to Bengal first time, I saw storms. I was in the middle of the Ganges on a boat. You know, there's a shift on a boat. And the boatmen suddenly, all of them, there were many boats, and they all suddenly looked, and they were just going, like faster. I was going, what happened? It's still a blue sky, just a little cloud on the horizon. No, in few minutes, huge violet, black, blue cloud came and immediately went like anything, waves. We just made it to the shore, and I just jumped out of the boat, you know, and they were all tying up the boats, and it was going like mad, just for 20 minutes, half an hour. And after that, it was okay. But it was very violent. So such a storm came. Now Bhimanga Thakur waited for a boat to cross the river. But the boat, of course, didn't come. So he was so mad. He jumped in the river and tried to cross it in the middle of the storm. He was practically drowning. And then, as he was almost drowning, something happened. That can happen in India. I don't know today, but when I came to India, it was quite common. You go in a Ganges and there's a dead body floating. Just like this. You know, yeah. So he saw, oh, there's something floating. It was a dead body. And he grabbed it, and with the help of the dead body, he crossed the river, completely wet, finished. And then he ran towards the house of Chintamani in that rain, in that storm. But it was getting very late. So Chintamani was thinking, oh, what a weather, and he will not come. She knew he is coming, but not in this weather. So she closed the gates and went to sleep. Now he came to the gates, they were closed. There was a high wall. So he tried. He said, how do I get to that garden, to that main door, to the building? So he saw something hanging there, so he grabbed it. It was actually a snake. So with the help of the snake, he came up and he just fell over into the garden. His dress was ripped off, he was dirty, you know, and he came running towards the door, banging on the door, Chintamani, wake up. So she came finally down. She couldn't believe it. She opened the door and there was this Bhimanga Thakur, completely mad. And she looked at him and she said something very, very serious. She said, this is really amazing. You practically risked your life to come here to enjoy me. If you would have such a determination in Krishna consciousness and you would love Krishna so much, you must be a pure devotee. That she said so clearly, you don't expect a prostitute preaching to you, actually. But because she was actually Krishna conscious, she said it so straight out. I didn't experience it myself, but I heard from those who try to go in illusion and having sex and meeting a Krishna conscious interested lady, how humiliating it is when you are full of lust, you want sex, and she tells you, yeah, but I heard we are not this body, you know. And this is coming from a woman. It's just like a slap in the face, you know. So this is actually also the end of the story I told parallel to this. When my friend brought his girlfriend to the temple, she stayed because there was this brahmacharinis. And the ladies are quite simple. They go, hey, these girls are happy. There's nice prasadam here. They are happy. I want to stay here. Actually, women join much, much easier Krishna consciousness as men. Because men always have to think about it. Even they don't have much to think with, but they still try to think about it. Women, they go straight from the heart. And there we are on that issue. They go straight from the heart. Oh yeah, this is great. I want to do it. I stay here. So my friend was going home alone. He didn't stay because he had such a strong desire to enjoy more. It didn't take long. And he appeared in a Sunday again with another lady. You know, Buddhistic, vegetarian, spiritually inclined. You know what happened? After half a year or 1 year of this, we had a whole party of ladies from this guy. And devotees were really humorous. They were going, Prabhu, very good, go. You know, and the lady was staying, he was going. It was repeating itself. He didn't got it. So, it was so obvious that Krishna is just playing tricks with him, you know. So one has to be careful to coming close to Krishna. He is there, he is watching, and when he sees there is actually a sincere desire, but overpowered by material desires, then Krishna helps, push. So that's what happened to Bilamangala. When that prostitute told him that, he was just shocked. And he realized, my God, what am I doing here? How embarrassing, how humiliating. Actually, sex life is quite a humiliating thing. We don't want to go in detail, but oof. You know, I think all men here know what lust is. The question is how much you want to pay for it. First of all, it's not for free. No. Sooner or later, it costs money, you know. Second of all, you have to humiliate yourself because the females are designed in such a way that they go, okay, you like me? Try harder. You know, and the guy is just, okay. I mean, you want to get yourself in that shape. That was one of the reasons which protected me from ladies. Even before I joined Krishna consciousness, I was too proud for this. I said, I'm going to crawl here on a floor just for a few minutes sex life. This is ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. So I never was putting myself in this situation. I don't want to be autobiographic, but this very few ladies who came in my life, they came on their own. Even my marriage in Krishna consciousness was arranged by superior authorities. I was not going around going, hello, my name is Manidhara. What are you going to do? What are you doing tonight? I would never have done that. It's too humiliating. It's just too much. Begging and going around and humiliating myself like this. Nah. And the ladies came on their own. And I don't complain. Yeah, I don't complain. Krishna sent me the right wife with all what is to it. And it's not just nice things you get there. You get the whole package, you know. They have a saying in India is, well, if you get a cow, you get milk, but you get kicked sometimes too. Because cows do that. You milk the cow and the cows do sometimes, pap, you know, and then you fly in your mouth in a mud. They like to do that. You know? So anyway, that example is given. So Bhimanga turned around and he walked out. And he was going straight for the place of renunciation, Vrindavan. Vrindavan actually is not a place for tourism, to go there. Nowadays we see much tourism, you know. Wow. Indians are quick, you know. When I came to Vrindavan first time, 1978, this was a very different place from today. It was a very, very quiet place, like an abandoned village almost. You know, there was no cars, hardly. one ambassador car is really, it's a car which is like moped, Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like maybe once an hour. That was really something. Now you go to Vrindavan, it's very different. Completely packed with people and noisy and this and that. So that Vrindavan I saw first time was different. So Bhima Thakur was going to Vrindavan to renounce. Prabhupada said actually it's a place of renunciation, not a place of enjoyment. I mean, I couldn't believe this. I was in Vrindavan maybe last time 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I saw a big banners like on a highway, these big posters. Golf in Vrindavan. They make a golf course. Some rich man from Delhi, from something. I know there are many people coming. Let's make some business here. Golf in Vrindavan. It cannot get more crazy. This is not a place for this. This is very offensive. This is Krishna's home. But Bhima Thakur was going Vrindavan to renounce. However, as he was passing through the next day on the river, he saw a very beautiful girl washing laundry. They always wash laundries at the river. So what happened? His senses, being completely trained, were going, look. And Bhagavad Gita described, first you look, then you want to touch. That's the next thing. As soon you touch, the connection is made, then poof, the lust comes up, really. It's not anymore in a mind, it gets physical. And then Bhagavad Gita describes scientifically, you want more. And because usually you cannot get more, you get angry. When you get angry, you lose all the intelligence and any sense of judgment. And that may lead very quickly to a point of insanity. So actually extremely lusty people are insane, practically spoken. So Bhima Thakur, it didn't happen to him. He just was very interested. And without even thinking, even he was on the way to Vrindavan to renounce, he's followed the lady. She picked up the laundry and she was walking, Ladies have a funny way to walk. Men don't know how to. Men are like cupboards, They walk like buffalo. But, but the ladies walking, in a certain age, it becomes, I don't know how they do that. It's just like the senses go, So he followed. The lady was married. She went home to her husband with the laundry. So when she came to her house, and Bhima Thakur looked already like a sannyasi. The householder, her husband, came out and said, "Oh, we have a sannyasi visiting. Very nice. Please come in. What can I do for you?" And they invited him in. The lady was a little bit unsure, but there's an etiquette. In India, in many places still, the guest is the king of the home. So he invited, "Please sit down. What can we do for you, Maharaj?" And he looked at the man and he said, "I just would like to be with your wife alone." Very unusual request from a sannyasi, but because the man was Vedic culture, he said, "Whatever the guest says, okay, I will leave you alone." So when they were alone, he looked at this beautiful girl and he said, "Can you give me your needles in a hair?" They keep the hair together with a needle, like that. 2 needles like this. "Can you give me the needles?" And she was like, "Oh." Because for a woman in a Vedic culture, to loosen hair means like being naked in front of a man. That's the Vedic culture. That's the Vedic concept. So she was completely devastated. She cried. She gave him the needles. He took the needles and he said, "You know what got me here? These 2 eyes. By seeing you, I came here. So these two eyes are actually my enemies. So he took the needles and plucked out his eyes. I think the lady must have been quite shocked. And then, completely blind, he walked out, direction Vrindavan. And he became a blind man coming to Vrindavan, one of the top, until today, respected and honored Vaishnavas in Vrindavan. He wrote a wonderful book, which Lord Chaitanya, this is an old story. Yeah? So Lord Chaitanya appreciated this. Krishna Karnamrita, this is a very special book, you know. And Brahmangal Thakur worshipped as the top Vaishnava in Vrindavan. So this is just illustrating. Prabhupada told this story quite many times, actually, to illustrate how dangerous the senses can be, how dangerous the desire can be. And it's all coming from the heart. And the heart, there is another thing which is much more important, that the soul is dwelling in the heart region. But it's not alone. There is a super soul. Krishna expanded himself at the point of creation into particular universes, but he doesn't stop there. He expands himself in the heart of every living entity, and I mean every living entity. Prabhupada gave an example. Can you imagine Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is sitting in the heart of a pig? What a, the pig the whole day, it stinks and it's just eating, excrements. And Krishna is there, in the heart, in two functions, Anumanta and Upadrashta. He observes, what are you doing? And then he gives permission. What do you want? But that doesn't mean he is fulfilling all the desires. It means also that Krishna controls under the law of karma what we deserve. It's not just what we want, but what we also deserve. But he is there 24 hours a day. Now, this is a very unpleasant realization for those who are sinful. They perceive the super soul more like a police. He's watching and giving permission. Well, that's basically what the police is doing on the street. They go, wow, I hate God. He's watching and giving permission. Even they admit there is God, they hate him because he is watching and giving permission. So they are very, very unpleasant realization. And then I have another policy, you can read it in our books. They say, there's actually no problem. God hid himself in the heart of living entities. He doesn't come out. So we can do whatever we want. He's just hidden there. He will not come out. There we know that Krishna is not just in the heart. He's not limited to the heart. He is everywhere. But he can expand himself in so many forms. And one of them is Paramatma in the heart. And he is watching and giving permission all the time. The more one understands that, the more one becomes actually Krishna conscious. We saw Srila Prabhupada acting in a most abnormal way. Because normal people, they don't even know this. They just act, they want something, they just act. They don't know they are watched, and the actions are permitted or facilitated. Pure devotee knows it all the time. So we saw Srila Prabhupada when he was asked with some managerial questions. Prabhupada, there is a building for sale. We want a new temple. Shall we buy the building or not? And Prabhupada became very quiet. Like, you make a phone call. Prabhupada was, buy it. Devotees were like, wow, he just made a phone call. There was no phone, but he just made a phone call. He simply waited for the reconfirmation of Krishna. Of course, when one reporter asked Prabhupada, I mean, it's obvious how devoted your disciples to you are, but what happens when you are not here? It's a serious question. And Prabhupada said, Krishna will guide them if they follow. Krishna will guide them. And Repori was going like, yeah. Then one devotee sitting there, he tries to help Prabhupada by explaining to that reporter, you know that Krishna is in the heart of a very living entity, and he can instruct from within like that. So the super soul will tell Prabhupada how to organize that the movement can go on. Prabhupada got upset. He said, no, super soul, Krishna directly will tell me. That's a higher level. Of course, Krishna is always of the same opinion, not like the super soul is saying something else as Krishna himself, as Govinda. No. It's the same Krishna. But pure devotee, he takes instruction directly from Krishna. And that we saw practically in the actions of Srila Prabhupada. You cannot imagine what can happen then. Prabhupada was sitting in an airport in Japan, in Tokyo. I give an example. And there was a boy walking around, and he saw some Indian Swami. And Prabhupada was so attractive, just by sitting, people came to him. So this boy was coming to him. And Prabhupada smiled, just like he knows him. And he said, come, sit here. And the boy sit next to him. And Prabhupada started to preach to him immediately, in a very simple way. That was the first Japanese devotee, who joined. Devotees couldn't believe this. He said, that boy came out of nowhere. And that happened all the time when you were close to Prabhupada. Things came out of nowhere. You had no idea, what is this? Why? Because when you are in harmony with Krishna, with harmony with the super soul in the heart, then everything is working very nicely, because Krishna is the ultimate manager. Everything comes from him, In detail, he's giving description in Bhagavad Gita. How is he governing the whole universe, including yourself and myself, and everybody is under. So when we come in harmony with Krishna, which is actually called Krishna consciousness, then suddenly things work out. And as soon we get envious, and we oppose, and we do it my way, then Krishna goes, oh, really? You want to do it your way? Well, you still need my permission, but you have my permission. But now you have to work. Work really hard. And there is adibhutik, adiatmik, adidevik, 3 kinds of miseries coming down on you. And you will have to struggle against them by any means. But if you serve me directly, I can take care of it. There will be some misery still, it's a material world, but I can take care of it. And this is what we saw when we were with Prabhupada. Things kind of worked out. Wow. Devotees say, Prabhupada, we cannot do this. We know you want that, but we cannot do that. This is impossible. This is materially spoken, absolutely impossible to do. Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in fool's dictionary for idiots. In Krishna consciousness, there is no such a thing like impossible. How can one say such a thing? Because for Krishna, nothing is impossible. And we saw it. There are numberless examples of that. What happened when Prabhupada was present? Like I joined this movement. I was just a silent, shy boy who was sitting the whole time at home. I was afraid of girls. Not like I didn't like them, but I was afraid of them. So I was just sitting, speculating, writing poems and reading books. I hated people. I really didn't like people. And I was not alone. There's a whole, I knew people who had a very similar kind of, we used to go on the street watching people. Just what are they doing here? Huh? It's like they look to me like fish in an aquarium, that? When you ever were standing in front of an aquarium, well, you are just watching, and the fish is just swimming here and there and back again. And then they go, well, there is something going on here. For you, it's just a little box with water in it, and there is a fish inside. For him, it's a whole world. So people, look to me very similar like that. And I tell you one little secret, they still look to me like that. When I go around in Malmö, I think, what are they doing here? Huh? They're driving here and there, and then they get a big car. But then they do the same thing, boom, 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 and they go somewhere. And what do? What is the enjoyment, please? What? You buy ice cream, it's gone. Just few seconds. You want to taste. You know how long the taste lasts? Here, because when you have it in the stomach, you don't taste one thing anymore. How long does sex life? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. These 4 principles motivate people. How does it last? Besides that, what are you enjoying when you are sleeping? You don't know one damn thing. But people go, wow. We are very close to a country. I used to be 2 years in Denmark. You know what they ask you in Denmark when you meet people? Hello, how are you? Did you have a good sleep? Like this. And you go, why is he asking about my sleeping? Because for them in Denmark, it's very important. I never saw people who can so professionally sleep like in Denmark. They can sleep for 2-3 days non-stop. That's far out. You try to do that, it's not easy. In Denmark, no problem. They just sleep. One of my godbrothers, he noticed too, preaching in Denmark, so he said, yes, you're absolutely right. When I fly with the airplane over Denmark, I already get tired. In some kind of atmosphere, it's just like, this is what you get. Sorry, I don't want to insult any Danish people, but I was there. I was incredible how long people can sleep. So what are you enjoying when you're sleeping? And did you ever saw a happy person waking up? They asked one very, very beautiful woman from Hollywood, how you manage to be always so beautiful? And she was quite humorous and quite honest. She said, you should see me when I wake up. The Miss Universe waking up, So what is the enjoyment? Sex life, you know what the average time of sex life in America, that's scientifically proven. The average time of sex life in America is 3 minutes. Big enjoyment. And what do you get out of these 3 minutes? Oh, you can 30 years suffer really a good. Let's say you don't get AIDS. Let's say you don't get syphilis. Okay. But let's say you get married. Okay. Then it's 30 years, walk. Shut up and walk. For 3 minutes. I mean, it's a pretty bad deal if you speak in terms of sense gratification. And besides that, it's not true. There's a joke in Kami's world. 2 men are meeting, in a bar, and they go, hey, how is your sex life? Huh? And the other man goes, are you crazy? I'm married. You see, this is finally the reality of the whole thing. It's not like propaganda out there. They always talk about it. Nah, the reality is very different. If you compare from eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, how much you spend time with mating as minimal in comparison to eating or sleeping. Oh yeah, that we do. In a lifetime, we eat a lot and we sleep a lot. But sex life, everybody just talks about it. But so we know these things in Krishna consciousness. So we are very careful, aware of the presence of the Lord in the heart. We are very careful not to insult him. It's an insult, an offense to Krishna. Prabhupada said it when the first form of Krishna was brought in a temple. Prabhupada said, now Krishna is here, no more nonsense. And all the hippies were like, oh, oh. You know, actually it was very difficult in Prabhupada's presence to do some nonsense. And they knew exactly what he means. He knew hippies, he knew what they can do, but he said, no more nonsense. And Prabhupada said, if I would, we follow principles, four regulated principles, Prabhupada said, if I would give up that, not demand that, I could have millions of disciples. And you can see it. There are gurus out there, and there are people, they say, no, it's not so important. If you feel like that, then do it. I knew even one guru, his name was, he called himself even Bhagavan, the master of all the opulences. What a rascal. He was actually a journalist. Indian. He grew just big beard, looked very serious. You have to have a beard, otherwise you are not saintly, He had a big beard and he was like serious. And his lectures were hilarious. He said, if you feel like you are one, then you are one. That was a lecture, Everybody was like, whoa, it's another dimension. I don't understand one word, but it must be something very, very transcendental. Yeah. So his philosophy was, if you feel something, do it, and more do it. Sex life, do it, because it will exhaust itself. And you come to the point of exhaustion, which is essentially truth. The senses get exhausted, but they will come back again. That's what that fool didn't tell them. Much stronger as before. You get addicted up to the point you even know this is destroying me, and you will do it anyway. That's how crazy it can get. It's like, we have the cigarettes. Those not always like that. I'm coming from the 60s, still from the previous century. There was an advertisement for cigarettes by doctors. It's good for blood pressure. And doctor was smoking. Very good, very good. Then I realized it's not so good for blood pressure. Blood pressure may be, but you will die much faster. So that suddenly it was not so good. So the propaganda changed, So now we have packages, it's written on it. You smoke it, you die. People go, I don't care. There's a man in England, he's quite English humor, English humor is very nasty. So he published black packaged cigarette with this skull on it, with this watch out, it's deadly. And he made a big business out of it, People know alcohol is destroying your body. There's nothing nourishing, or there's nothing really healthy about alcohol, yeah? Nothing. And they still do. They do. And over again. I don't even mention the embarrassing aspect. When you are drunk, then you don't know what you are doing and all this, and this is all crazy. Actually, people ask us, why do you follow these principles? Who forbade you that? This classical question. Who forbade you to eat meat? Who forbade you to get drunk? Who forbade you to have sex life when you like? And who forbade you to gamble? And I always come back on them. I go, do you know what you just said? You just established a catalog of problems. Because, come on. You can start with anything. Intoxication. It's all basically consumption of different kinds of poison. It starts with alcohol, ends up with heavy drugs. It's deadly, and you know that. It's a big problem in a society. So we don't do that. Sex life. The list of problems coming out of that department is quite big, you know that? I'm not mentioning that for 3 minutes sex life, you will work for 30 years like an ass. But from sexual diseases up to the emotional violation which is happening there, just problems. So we don't do that. And Prabhupada was very heavy on this. He said, we are not against sex life. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the sex life. For those who actually use it for creating children, having a family, for procreation. So anyway, and then gambling. Do you know that the gambling businesses are good? Because 99.9% people are losing. It's a good business. Maybe sometimes somebody is winning something just to keep the rest of the idiots going. We don't do that. And meat eating. Oh, really? What do you want to eat for lunch? Meat. Well, what about if all the shops are closed? I give you a knife or a gun. Go, get your animal. Will you do that? I mean, 99% people will say, no, I like animals. Then our question is, why are you eating them if you like them? They are my friends. Well, I don't eat my friends, you know that. And it's so troublesome just to hunt down an animal, cut it. Isn't it more simple to eat some potato, peanut? It's all just hanging there, you collect this. Potato, you just pull out. Potato doesn't run away. You go, hey, there's another potato. It's ridiculous. So it's easy. We are lazy people, I am not going to go hunting just to eat. I eat what is just falling on my head. That's called apple. Bunk. It's just, I'm too lazy for this. So basically, when you consider the principles we are following, we are just saving ourselves a trouble. And the whole commercial world is running on violating these principles because that's how they make their money. Well, that's another thing we don't do. We don't join the commercial frenzy. No. Just to get cheated so some people make money and I go to hell. That's great. I'm not speaking about the karmic reactions even. So I go to hell, they make the money. Oh, that's really a bad deal. No. We don't do that in Krishna consciousness. It's as simple as that. What to speak of establishing in people's minds Krishna is in the heart. You don't have to be a Hare Krishna for that. Every religion is teaching that. A very bona fide religion is teaching that, actually. That God is in the heart, He is there, He is watching and observing and giving permission. So if you want something, ask God first. That's called pious people. Pious people. But of course, in Krishna consciousness, as I described before, you don't get always what you want, you get what is good for you. Krishna is very loving, very careful. They go, God is love. They think, well, then He will give me what I want. If you love somebody, you give him what he wants, right? No. Krishna loves you, but He will give you what is needed, what you really need, what's really beneficial for you. He will not give you some nasty thing. For that, there are other deities, other controllers we can approach, like Shiva and Durga and all this. They will give even a blessing for a destructive thing. Krishna will not do that. He is so loving, He will not allow His devotee to harm himself by some sinful action. So this is how wonderful it is to realize Krishna is in the heart. Now somebody can say, but I don't hear Krishna in the heart. What shall I do with that? I am not aware of that. What shall I do with that? That's why we accept spiritual leadership. A bona fide spiritual leader, a real guru, actually, is called the external manifestation of the Supersoul. Actually, his voice and the voice of God must be identical. It's a heavy challenge to be a guru. Not so easy. You have to be completely in tune, in harmony with Krishna to be actually a real guru. But there is another way to get around it. If you are not feeling like that, and you don't feel empowered like this, then you point, to a real guru. And by doing that, you become also a real guru. It's called Guru Parampara. You just point, you should see, just as a real guru, that's what he said, take it. Then you become also a real guru. Yeah. So in this way, we can become Krishna conscious and more aware about Krishna in the heart. There are some questions, points, so it's late. Huh? Yeah.
Question. Could you explain connection between Paramatma and Karma? How they work together? Paramatma and Karma, how they work together?
Paramatma is just supervising the karma. He cannot change the law. We can find it in the scriptures. Krishna is not changing laws. Otherwise, it would be just chaos. Krishna is not whimsical. There is an established law. So for action, there is a reaction. The only thing Krishna is doing is, there is karma, and there is vikarma, and then there is a transcendental action. There is a good karma, bad karma, and no karma. So Krishna is actually advocating no karma. How can this happen? How can I act and there's no really reaction? Krishna says, just do it for me. I will take care of it. If you do it for yourself, well, that's either good or bad. In Krishna consciousness, there is no good and bad. It's transcendental. So there is no reaction. In that sense that we get some reaction. It's Krishna's. That's the reason why we are offering. Offering is there. We're offering prasadam, Otherwise, otherwise those who don't offer prasadam, they eat just lumps of sin. And there's a reaction. So this is how simple it is. And when one is actually managing more and more to spiritualize one's life, becomes a karma-free life. And the super soul is just observing that the law is in order, just keeping it in order. He's observer and permission giver. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, at the end, he said, so Arjuna, you heard all the knowledge. What do you think? It's your choice how you will act now. Krishna doesn't say, it's all arranged. He says, actually, they are all dead by my will already. But still, he asks Arjuna, what is your choice? That moment of choice is always there. Otherwise, he wouldn't be an individual being. We will be just robots. Just God's robots. Yeah. I joined in Germany in the 70s. It was big propaganda. When you join the sect, you become like a robot. Mindless, brainless, yes, a robot. Yeah, sometimes we wish it could be like that. No, it's never like that. People come and people go also, because they make choices. Every day is a day of choices. Like everybody who came here tonight made a choice. You didn't have to come, no. You could just go somewhere else and do something else. Why did you come here? It was your choice. Now, some people say, well, he was influenced. Yeah? Well, we are all influenced. Sorry. There's not one single person in Malmö who is not influenced. We are all influenced by something. So we allowed ourselves to be influenced. That's also a choice. So this is how the super soul works. Just simply supervising, in one sense, is neutral. It's in a neutral position. It doesn't take part. It just checks. It's supervising the law of karma. But for a pure devotee, like I said, he is relating directly to Krishna. So the super soul is just, there's something much more extreme, but this is very intimate and very, very private. Pure devotee can influence Krishna. Prabhupada, we saw it. He said, Krishna, I want to do this for you. So you must allow me to do this. And it happened. But that, you have to have a very intimate and an extremely loving relationship. You know, when you laugh in the material world, we can also experience that. When you laugh, like parents love children and children love parents. There is a mutual influence. Sometimes the children can be very manipulative. They are not stupid. By the way, dogs do the same. You know that dog can manipulate you? People go on the street and they go, I walk the dog. No, the dog walks you. It can see it sometimes, this way and that way, and the dog walks him, you know, yeah? Because there is a mutual, there's attachment. This is just a very primitive example, but for a pure devotee, the relationship to Krishna is so intimate and so loving that Krishna sometimes goes, okay, well, wasn't my plan, but if you really want to do it like that, then we can do it like that. And Krishna is arranging for a pure devotee, and pure devotee is arranging for Krishna. To see this, it's amazing. It's just, that's what we got to see when being close to Srila Prabhupada. How these two are working together. Is something else?
Is there a way to train yourself to see the, is there a way to train yourself to see the answer of Krishna in your heart? To distinguish your will and his will.
Yeah.
What is the way to train yourself to better distinguish the will of
Blessing. This doesn't happen by the dint of our strength or even academic knowledge. You know, I know so much, I read so many books. That doesn't help. It's good when you read the right books, but it doesn't make the job. It's a blessing. Therefore, devotees' prayer is there. Please, Krishna, show me. Please, Krishna, guide me. You know what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita? Even before one accepts spiritual authority, if the desire is sincere, Krishna says, before he takes up spiritual guidance, I will guide him myself. And it's always, I mean, there's a saying in the world, the birds of the same feather, they flock together. So it's not a chance. It's all based on desire. So it's not a chance that, somebody gets cheated. He wanted to get cheated. Like my whole prayer from the day I was born, I remember, was not to get cheated. I saw people getting cheated all the time. For me, the whole place was just a place of cheaters. Everybody was lying something, pretending something, you know. Since I remember, that's the reason I didn't like people, because everybody was a kind of showman. I said, what is the real thing? I'm not going to join this show here. I was an artist living with very extreme people. Prabhupada called the hippies. They asked him, what is your definition of hippie? Prabhupada said, something very extraordinary. You know, something really crazy. You know, I associated with people like that because they were so different. I didn't want to be the same. I want to be different. But then I realized, yeah, they are differently crazy, yeah. So that was quite scary. I mean, some people got really scary, you know. They were quite crazy. And I was a genius artist, amazing people. I grew up only with people like this. I never grew up with children. I was thinking children are too childish. I grew up only with grown-up people, and there were some of them were very funny. I couldn't even understand what they are doing, but they were very funny, I could tell you stories day and night with what kind of people I grew up with. My father was a very prominent musician in classical music, and he knew many people. He was not a very social person. He just was completely obsessed by music. Day and night, just obsessed by music. But in a line of it, because he was a top musician, he knew lots of people. So he was making music for movies, and then suddenly we had movie people coming in, cartoon, painted, animated movie. I mean, we had these people coming in, and he was playing in some theater. Well, then the theater people came in. I was just constantly, we had this kind of people coming, crazy people, all of them. When I remember them, and that was quite famous people, but they were all crazy. That's how far I remember. That was my childhood. So for me, artist means crazy. That's actually, and when Prabhupada said something very extraordinary, I could immediately understand what he's talking about. And I got scared. I was thinking, what is normal? This is all crazy. The people are crazy in their way. The artists are crazy that way. It's all crazy. Yeah? Now, what is actually normal? Then Prabhupada showed, hey, this is normal. This is how normal human beings act. I was going, that sounds good. That sounds good. Now I have a chance to be normal. That was nice. So that's what Prabhupada gave us, a normal life. Otherwise, sometimes people, they look very normal, but they're actually quite crazy, When you come close to them, you realize it's quite crazy, in various ways. And sometimes the more intelligent they are, the worse it gets. Because stupid person doesn't get so many ideas, but when you are more intelligent, you get all kinds of ideas. Most people are very simple. You could call it childish. I know one man, it's not like, I don't know, in a line of my family life, and as I came in touch with people, I didn't grow up in a bubble, So I know one very nice man, he's a boss of a company, car rental company, And somehow he developed, he knows I'm a devotee. He checked me out. And somehow we're coming very close. Almost like somebody you could really preach to, And he's operating, since 30 years. He's a boss of a big branch of a car rental company and all this. So he knows how to manage, and he's a very capable man, actually. But still, he's very childish. You know what he does when he's on holiday? He gets on his bike with 5 other guys, and they go, and they sleep under a tree, yeah. Live very simple, austere life, and just, and you know what he does? He comes to Sweden, visiting me from Prague. And they come, 5 guys, And my wife goes, yeah, she calls them, my boys are coming again. They are like boys with bikes. And they look heavy, like a biker gang, People go, oh, this is heavy biker gang. No, they're just boys on bikes. Most people are like that. They do childish things. They go watching football or something. What is this? It's just, what is this? It's childish. It's not for grown-up people, really, But most people are like that. But then there are some who are more, for them, like my father was a little bit, he never joined us. No. He was reading lots of books and things like this, and music. That was for him like, he was obsessed. So, yeah. So, but in Krishna consciousness, we have the challenge. We have to become more normal. How do you become more normal? Yeah, that's a real challenge. By first understanding that it's all crazy out there. And it's not overestimated statement. I can give you an endless example. I have one godbrother, he became a guru. He became a spiritual master. Sometimes he writes to me, you know, I'm getting illusioned. Because spiritual master, I'm surrounded by people, they worship me all the time. But I know this is not the real world, really. It's not like, you know, in a real world, people don't sit the whole day being worshipped, not at all. But it can happen to you in Krishna consciousness. So he said, I'm worried. I will start to believe all this and be like ending up living in my own world. But you are good at it to tell horrible stories. Can you tell me something horrible from real life? You know, we have a funny exchange like this. And I said, yeah, I can do that. Then I write to him something, how crazy the world is. And he goes, oh, now I feel much better. Now I am much more determined and much more clear in Krishna consciousness. Yes, Prabhupada said you have to be materially first entirely exhausted to become spiritually 100% interested. But there's a level in between. Yeah, there's a level in between, but ultimately it boils down to that. I could go in detail in every country I travel, you know, and it's just the same illusions, but differently colored, of course. The coloring is a bit different, no? You know.
One more question. What is better, to try to deal with these crazy people or just to live austere life somewhere?
No, we have to deal with crazy people. We cannot avoid it. Hiding? No. It will not work. It's a natural instinct for somebody who is actually spiritually interested. It's a natural instinct. But hiding, we cannot hide. Hiding where? Prabhupada gave examples of yogis going way, way, way up to Himalaya, you know, where nobody goes, and then they meditate. Even today, no. You sit there in Himalaya, just deeply absorbed in meditation, and then some mountain climber will come, you know, making photo, a selfie with you. A yogi, you know, it can happen. Nowadays it can happen. I give a very brutal story that happened in the early 80s. There was a man retiring to Himalaya, going somewhere hiding. And he really made sure there is nobody. So he tried to meditate on this. And suddenly, something horrible happened. There was a big bang. And the little house, he had a little cottage, got completely destroyed by something which obviously fell from the sky. It was a big chunk of ice. And it was stinking too. So he was wondering, where did this came from? Himalaya. I mean, I was not sitting on the ice. He was still in an area which was still green and there was no snow. And there was this big piece of ice just smashed his cottage, you know, and it was stinking again. What is this? Yeah. It was the exit of the toilet of the jumbo jet which was flying over Himalaya. And they release the toilet sometimes. And when they are sure nobody down there, then they, you know, and as it flies down, all the stool, it gets frozen, of course. It's 3,500 meters up there, or whatever they fly. You know, so this big piece of frozen stool came right away on his head. That's called karma, you know. It took him a while to find out what is this, you know. So much for, you know, hiding. There is no place to hide. We have to become Krishna conscious. Prabhupada was not hiding. He could have stayed in Vrindavan, in a very peaceful place. Just chant Hare Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. He could have done that. No. He came in the middle of this crazy 70s, the hippies. The crazy America, there was riots, there was heavy riots, and there was heavy disturbances going on. Vietnam War was going on. And Prabhupada came in the middle of the whole thing. And Prabhupada said, yeah, I felt like I landed on another planet. So he was studying. He said, Prabhupada, the first year I was basically just walking around studying. What are they doing here? Like Prabhupada never in his life saw a refrigerator or a vacuum cleaner. Just these things didn't exist in India at that time. So he was going, what is this? Going, and they explained to him, this is vacuum cleaner. Oh. Then he was going in a park and there was hippies having sex right away in a park. Never saw anything like this in India. I was going, whoa, what a people. But he knew a spiritual master wanted him to do that. There must be some reason. Spiritual masters are not joking just. So he just kept on doing his Krishna consciousness, just watching what is coming. And what came was so amazing that even Prabhupada himself was amazed. He said, well, this is becoming so big. Originally, I came in just to distribute my books. He brought us 3 trunks of books. And actually, I thought when I tell the people about these principles, Bhakti Yoga and all this, they will say, Swamiji, very nice, but go home. But then he saw they're actually picking up this. So, and then more and more and more. So, this is how Krishna consciousness works. Like we are sitting here in Malmö. Obviously not the most, vibrant, spiritually vibrant place on this planet. Obviously. Yeah. But you never know what happens. You never know. Sweden, they go, we are in Sweden. I was born in a country which doesn't exist anymore. And it's not so long time ago. I was born in Czechoslovakia. Well, that country doesn't exist anymore. Now it's a Czech Republic and Slovakia. That's it. And what is going to be this tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe it will be a part of Germany or part of Austria. Or it was before already like that. Yes. People are so confident. Oh, I'm coming from this country. Really? How do you know? Like Ukraine was always Russia. For everybody is Russia. Anyway, now Russians. Nah. Sometimes was this, sometimes that. There was a whole chunks of Poland which were Ukraine, now not Ukraine. Anyway, there was a whole chunks of Finland. It was a big fight. What is Finland? What is Russia? What is this? And then in the end came the Germans and said, no, this is all Germany. It's just all crazy. This material world is constantly in something moving. What do you know? Maybe tomorrow you will have a, Chinese prime minister in Sweden. How do you know? Chinese are everywhere. In England, it's so funny, the good old England. They have a prime minister from India. Because he's very English, but not so English actually, really. Especially nowadays. People are so proud, I'm coming from this family. Yeah? It's ridiculous. You don't even know. Like in Czech, they go, I'm a Czech. Yeah, the grandfather was German, you know that? Because the Germans were all over the place in Czech. It's ridiculous. Who is who? And when I go to Balkan countries, which I go very often, it becomes even more bizarre. This is a place where people fight from village to village. It's just like that, always. I am from this village. This is Croatian village. No, it was Serbian village yesterday. I'm Croatian. Come on. Your father was from Serbia. And your grandmother from Montenegro. And come on. Where's the pure bloodline? It's ridiculous. It doesn't exist anymore. Anybody comes, I'm Swedish. You know, when I came to Sweden, 1986, it was still known that this is Sweden. Now you go in Europe, and you go, I'm from Sweden. They go, which nationality? They don't even take it seriously, because Sweden is known as a place which is completely overrun by foreigners. This is not exactly true, but it's happening anyway. Now, I don't want to get into the immigration department, but it's just really anti-Vedic. You know why? Because in a Vedic culture, nobody went anywhere. You were born in a particular place, you accepted your karma, and you did the best out of it by becoming Krishna conscious. And there are different coloring. There is a different coloring. There are different devotees. In India alone, there are devotees from Orissa and devotees from, from South India. You know, there are the Ramanujas and all this, and there's so many different devotees, but they are devotees. There's so much variety, so why not? You know, in India, oh my God, I am not experienced India traveler. It's not so many places I went to, but I know there's a big difference between South India and North India. And then when you want to have it really far out, you must go to Bengal. You know, that's the first place I went to. I was thinking the whole India is like this. No. Then I spoke to other Indians and they're going, Bengali? Yeah. You know, they're a little bit like gypsies. It's like, you know, a little bit like that. It's bodily, okay? It's completely mistaken. There are a variety of people everywhere. But when I came to Bengal, I was going, oh, India, what a place. Because when Bengalis speak to each other, it sounds like they are fighting. And you think, riot is starting. No, they're just saying good morning. You know, they're just, you know, more hot-blooded people. But even there you find also differences. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not like this, and he was from Bengal. You know, so there are differences. Everywhere differences. Otherwise, I don't know India very much. Oh, Rajasthan, yeah, that was another place. I like that place, really. Rajasthan, they always look at you like, passport. It's all Kshatriya type. The women, they look like men. And they are all like, I came first time to Jaipur when I was, I must have been, 27, 28 years old. I was a brahmachari. I was in Safran. I was celibate. When I just walked in Jaipur, I got the taste of Jaipur immediately. I just walked down the road, the main road where the wind palaces and all this, and there's Govindaji Mandir. Anyway, I just walked down, and there was a lady coming out from a side street, and she looked at me. You know, typical Rajasthan lady with a bright sari, you know, and they have this jewelry just hanging on them like Christmas tree. You know, it's just they have this bracelets from here to there. And it looks like, wow, it's nice. Then you realize, my God, this is pure gold, you know. They just, you know, they're just hanging them here and there and everywhere. And then she came out and she looked at me and was going, Hare Krishna! And she knew something from devotees. I was going, yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Go in! Prasad! Go in! And I was like, ah! I was scared that there would be some problem, so I just went in a side street, and there was a door open, and she was going, go in! Go in! And I was like, yes, Mataji, yes. Sit! Then she brought a huge plate with some prasad. It was probably Durga prasad or something like that. You know, it was, I mean, she didn't look to me like Vaishnavi, They worship very often, you know, Durga and Ganesh and all this. And you're going, eat, prasad, eat. That was the Rajasthan hospitality, you know. And it was like, yes, Mataji. Oh my God. It was just chili and more chili and more chili and more chili. I was like, and I had to eat it all in front of her. She was watching, you know. And then when I was finished, I could go. That was it. She just wanted to actually give me prasadam. But it was like visiting police station, you know. So this is Rajasthan, you know. They are all, you know, like this. But the temple and everything, Jaipur was fantastic. I mean, now there was no ISKCON temple at that time. Now it's just, it's a beautiful place. I was completely carried away by Rajasthan. It was just, anyway, I could tell so many stories. This could go the whole night. But people are different. Some countries, there is more easy to preach, definitely. But I tell you, it looks like it's more easy, but it's not very deep. It comes and goes. And some countries, people really go like, what is this? But when they actually start to do this, they are very serious. So you never know. For us, we do the same thing. Same Bhagavad Gita, same thing. Yeah. But I have sometimes fun when I travel around, you know. Devotees ask me, like, what do you think about Croatians or Serbians? Or can they become Krishna conscious? And I tell them how Krishna conscious person acts in Croatia or in Serbia. It's different. You know, yeah. And different according to our nature. Some people join even being motivated slightly differently. Some people join because they just want to have some fun. Some people join because they feel relief from the karma burden. Some people, they join because they think, wow, this is really far organized here. And there are places which are like in India, very opulent. Some people join because of opulence, yeah. And some people, there are different motivations, but ultimately we have to meet on the point of actually loving Krishna. That's the meeting point. How that can be expressed differently. Like Prabhupada, he got in India a religious meeting that was actually done like this. The Sikhs came, you know, the Sikh religion, you know. So Guru Nanak and all this, they came there with a turban, heavy, because in Sikh in India, usually it's the police or it's the pilot in the airplane, this kind of guys. You know, custom, that's all Sikh, you know, it's all Kshatriya guys. So they came in, a whole delegation, to speak to the holy man, Swamiji. And they were thinking it's going to be some interreligious exchanges. As soon as they walked in the door, Prabhupada smiled and he said, welcome, it's very nice. You will become our ISKCON police. We need police too, you know. And they were like, you know, he involves us immediately. It's possible, why not? But Prabhupada could do things like this. We cannot copy this so cheaply because we don't know, but Prabhupada could do things like this. So everybody can somehow or other become Krishna conscious. Everybody, if he wants to. The desire we cannot change. Okay, we have to continue with the program. Jai. Thank you for being here and listening. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhu ki jai.